Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of the Treat Show. Sorry, I'm trying to find a lighter right now, and it is not a graceful start. I am running a little late this evening. How is everybody doing? I can't even find my phone right now. I'm not sure what you guys are saying in the chat tonight, so you're gonna have to put it on anything but Instagram, and I'm sorry. But if you could slide your questions or comments into any other platform, I'm so sorry, guys. I just don't know where I put it. Thank you. These, how's everybody doing this evening? So I've actually got nobody in the studio on purpose today. It's gonna be a little chill sesh. I don't know. For those that are looking for an informative podcast, and I don't know if this is going to be the one, is I think tonight we're just going to chill and smoke. I do have some things. I wish I could find my phone because I made some notes tonight. But it's okay. We'll get to it the next show. Thank you. I'm going to roll this blunt while we are sitting together. Thank you. And I'm so sorry. And we're going to see what's going on in your guys' neck of the woods. Because I have so many thoughts this evening. This stuff, the strain I'm smoking, just so everybody knows, is Permanent Marker. This is actually from IROC. I know he's been around the Adam Dunn squad lately. And I'm pretty sure he's been doing the Bar Turptown, and that's pretty cool. Like, I think that's pretty awesome. One thing I know about IROC is that Jason from Dark Horse, you guys, let me tell you a secret. IROC was one of Jason's very first patients. Back in the day when we used to do this system that you used to purchase from a home grower, right? I think a lot of states can relate to this even right now. So you used to purchase from a home grower and bring it into the store. And you could only purchase, I think, 2 to 3 ounces at a time. I believe when I first started in 2009, I think you could do 2 ounces. I know everybody was getting a little squirrely, but I'm not sure exactly where it stands now. But I thought it was so cool that IROC actually loved the Bruce Banner, fell in love with the Bruce Banner, and then signed over as a caregiver to Dark Horse's old dispensary and company. Used to be back kind of by Cam. So a lot of people I know Dark Horse, but she's like one of my only, Anna is her name, but she's probably one of the only other females in the industry that, besides Cassandra, I always call her Cassandra, but her real name is Cassandra, from Verde, is I would say those 3 women, including myself, are the women of Colorado that are actually growing weed. I know Pamela as well with Scott Reach, but I think that it was such a small niche crew. I know that Scott actually worked with Cam back in the day, is Rugburn. Rugburn was Scott's OG partner. His trusted confidant. and, and they actually were leading Cam's genetics and cultivation side for a long, long time. And I know it was kind of on the DL, but I think it was super cool that Anna actually cared about like the strains and soon who was doing the heat back then. So yeah, Rugburn and Scott, I don't know. It's just like it's weird how everybody over the years, this is over a decade now, and to see where everybody's out is like IROC was just a beginning grower back then, according to all the things I have heard. I don't know for certain, but it's really cool to see that he was inspired from a strain and then pursued his entire career. All stem from Bruce Banner being like his love in the beginning. And I think that a lot of us can relate to when you fall in love with a strain and you're either like, I can grow this better, or I just want the strain and I can't afford to be buying weed like that. And I think it's kind of interesting to think about everybody's grassroots of like, where do we all start at? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I was even thinking about a job today. I'm so sorry, I'm almost done. I was thinking about a job today for the people that are like, how do I get into the weed industry and how do I make a niche and create this for myself? I don't know. Is like, this is a weird thing, but I think that we all have the same drive. Like when I really try to hone in, I have weed all over my mouth. I'm so sorry. But when I really try to hone in on like, what is our ultimate goal? For all of us, like, aside from money, we all like money, but like, what is the thing that makes a passionate grower versus a shitty grower? And it's like crazy to me because if we talk about male and females, I know people get so pissed about this subject, but it's honestly intriguing to me that you shouldn't stand out because you grow weed as a girl. I can definitely say that. Like, that's not what I'm banking on. And I feel like if I could give any woman words of wisdom, you shouldn't bank on that either. But I also think as the flip, though, is it's kind of weird that we all want good weed, right? It's just like a weird thing to me that people have been saying to me recently, as these states are legalizing and expanding, is like a couple of different people have made a comment to me, like saying like, we actually do this better than Colorado. You know, where they'll say like, we really value packaging and we really value these strains and we really value genetics and all kinds of things. And it's such a mixed emotion because it's strange to me that when we look back in Colorado, is Colorado's first year of being recreational, and it was the first state in the United States, is 2014, January. These stores were slammed. Like, when I say slammed, like, I mean slammed. Like, there would be lines out the door all day long. And I remember I was a bud tender during that like short period of time. And it's really strange to say this, but I just remember the store I was working at in particular was bringing in $250,000 a weekend. So to put that into comprehension, they were charging $66 an eighth. And if we were to do the actual math on how much movement that would be over a weekend to create $250,000, granted, let's look at a couple things during that time frame. So I was like, okay, what's different from then to now? Because completely different price points. We've got a lot of guys out there starting their businesses for the first time. We've got a lot of states legalizing for the first time. And this is super exciting. But also, if I was faced with making a decision on like, how would I move forward, right? Like, if you were really into this, like, would you want to invest in it? Would you want to get deep yourself? And would you want to like grow up to be a head grower, or would you want to like take a different career path as all of this is like playing out? And it's kind of intriguing to me, and I want to see what you guys say in the chat. I really do, because I've just got mixed emotions myself. Is like, I've wanted this dispensary treat forever, for as long as I can remember. And just like everybody is like, I was like, I'm gonna do it all right. I'm gonna pay people good. I'm going to harvest and cure my weed good. I'm going to flush good. I'm going to run this infrastructure so incredibly well. And I felt like I was competent and like good enough for it. I was like, listen, I can grow the weed. I can treat people good. We can do all these things. But you know, it's strange to me that I was like, a store bringing in $250,000 in a weekend. Now, if we were to look at all of Colorado's numbers and margins over all of their retail stores, for reals, there's 450 licenses. So if we were to look at all of them, what would be their averages since COVID? COVID season did us good. And I hate to say that, but we were actually very profitable for the first time since 2014. We had a little crash that happened in 2017. And I think that in 2020, that was the time that the grow stores, that the weed stores, that every brand was kind of like getting this like confidence back. They were like, listen, we survived the shit times. We got through the peak, we got through the shit, and now we are back on top. And it's like, it's really strange to me because it's like, what is on top? And I was trying to think about this as a real business entrepreneur concept. It's like, for those of all of us that are like nerds with weed and that really, really care about this and like want to use it as a supplemental income or want to just dive in all the way, is like, what has changed in the value of weed from where it began? And like, yes, we can go right off the bat to, we went from legalizing only one state to now we have majority of half the country is now decriminalized or moving in that direction to be recreational. And it's super exciting, right? Like we all voted for, not we all, most of us voted for this, and we've been really progressive. And it's like we've gotten weed to the point that now people treat it like a cigarette or something like that, which is actually good. Like we've now got this social acceptance thing going on, and we're like, okay, this is something that's socially acceptable. We can all be around and smoke as adults, and it's not just like this weird thing. But now there's no money in it. And I'm not saying across the board. I'm saying for the people that have been in this for over a decade. So I'm talking to like California, Oregon. You guys know. And you guys are probably feeling it out there. Colorado, obviously, is it's like I feel like the more that the other states that are fresh, like let's say New York, Michigan, Florida, everybody's fresh into the game, and they're going to have this window that's phenomenal. They're going to have this window of embracing genetics and embracing strains to the point that I forgot about. This is weird, but I had a person that was really special to me this week bring to my attention something I've lost touch with. Is there is a lot of states that don't have accessibility to the strains that we have accessibility to. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm saying that Colorado's actually muted itself in the derogatory way. I would say the opposite, where we've flooded the market with so many strains and so much diversity that now people don't really appreciate when they see a strain because they don't know if they can trust that that's the real genetics on the shelf, or they don't know the quality that was put into the production batch versus other states. I had a person ask about Skittles. So I actually went Lampshade. And I hate to call them Lampshade, but the only reason I feel good about doing this is I worked for this company 5 different times. It's Lightshade. The difference is night and day. It's so Lightshade. I went and picked up a 1/8 of Skittles. It was really an ounce. So I want you guys to see, though, for those that can't see the Z in other states or haven't tried the Skittles. So I had a customer, such a nice client, shout out. I will not say your name right now, but I really appreciate your support and I really appreciate you watching the show. And I had a client ask me what Skittles tasted like. And it was funny because it brought me back to like 4 years ago. Skittles was a really rare strain, even in Colorado. It was really hard to come by. There was like limited stores that had it, and still now it's pretty limited for the real Z cut. But it was really a California, like I would say it was really popular in California before it even got to Colorado. So it brought me back to this mindset of like when California dropped the Z. And all my friends were like, you got to smoke this Z and you got to get on this Z. And I was like so frustrated. I was like, where the fuck do I get this Skittles? Like, where can I get this? Everybody's talking about this. I don't know where to get it. And even in Colorado and even with the plug. So it was like funny, but you watch as time kind of like fades. And I ended up working with a client a couple years ago. This is weird. Is Gossip Hour. So this client, they're a part of a very exclusive glass Blowing Group, and they're this high-end kind of niche group that charges over $100,000 per piece, and they work with a very elite group of people. So like Laser Cat 710 is their that's their squad, right? Like whether they're owners in that hang out amongst each other, or they're friends that collaborate with one another. Is the thing is 710 and Laser Cat definitely are close. And I think that they're all it's cool as well because it's in Evergreen, Colorado, that most people from that group, I think, like actually hang out with each other and actually explore. So it's weird, but those who haven't been to Evergreen, is like it's a very like hippie community but very wealthy. Is like it's kind of weird because it's like what you would imagine Boulder to be from like every movie or stereotypical setting, but like that's actually what Boulder is to me. It's like Boulder is not exactly what you think Boulder is, but I think Evergreen is what Boulder you imagine to be. Is all those guys and all those type of people that I don't know, that are very very like environmentally friendly, yes, but they drop like $10 million on their house and you're like, oh my goodness, that's the group I'm imagining right now, right? Is like very elite, if you will. And it's weird, but they were all like the most connoisseur smokers and like the people that would influence, I would say, the mass majority of people around them on like how you actually conduct yourself smoking or what strains you're smoking. And so I remember when they brought in the Z, this is really interesting to me, is so they brought in the Z and they were all stoked about it. And it had been from California. This is like dedicated cut and all these things. And everybody was like, okay, so this glass blower, I won't specify his name, but he hit me up and he was like, hey, I've only grown a couple harvests of weed, but I really want to breed this strain. And I have this exclusive access to this Zittles cut, the Skittles and the Z. Give it to me. And so he was like, because I have the real cut, and this was like years ago, and so it really stood out at the time, is he was like, I really like to breed it. And I was like, that would be awesome. And so we were talking about doing a collaboration together on like if I could have him do these really beautiful glass pieces to sell my seeds in and do this like high end thing that was very customary and things like that. And so I would do their plants right to fix them genetically as far as like pest and disease issues, and we would get them completely up to snuff before beginning this breeding project. And then we would do this collaboration to help each other's companies. We were like, how can we complement every aspect of what true cannabis is, like the true cannabis lover from start to finish, like what you really want in the package and what you really are thirsty for with like the descriptions and details of the genetics and how to actually propagate them and feel 100% secure. It's not that I'm bashing on anybody's growing abilities. It's if you're paying like a premium amount for something, like you really want to be able to hold all people accountable, right? Like if you have this checklist when you begin, it's nice to be like, dude, I followed your shit and it didn't work. So we were talking about doing this really thorough, beautiful process. And it was weird is last minute. So once I agreed to it, once we started fixing the plants, once we started working into things, like this had been months at this point, is I was like, okay, let's do this breeding project. And it was funny is he was like, Jay, if you just do the project where I take all of the money and I take all of the acknowledgement for it, then just this once, then after this, we'll be able to like move forward and I will totally tag you and I will totally like say that we did this together. So I was like, okay, the story kind of changes at the end. We've all been there with all kinds of circumstances in life. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. Why would any person breed? Former breeders out there, and for the people that shit their pants when they see my pricing is like on anything, whether that's seeds, whether that's clones, let me tell you why. So this is what's weird is so we have all these systemic diseases that if you talk to, I would say 75% of scientists, they will tell you that you can't fix these diseases and that you can't fix these plants as of now, that they have to do further research. So this is weird, but you can fix the plants. And I hate to come from that side all the time. All the time I feel like I'm always going to be that wee girl that's always like disagreeing with the pack on the mass majority of people's opinions. Is like, you can fix this shit. And I know a lot of companies are going to try to make money, and they're going to come up with every way under the sun to navigate HLVD and Fusarium and Botrytis and Pythium. And sure, I get it. Do it. But for my group that is like with me now, I appreciate you so very much. And the thing is that I want you all to know is that you can fix it and you can cure. And I don't care if there is no scientific evidence now. I promise you guys, and I promise you on everything. And we could bet money, and you could come back, and we could come up with an awesome time frame for it. We should do it as the group. But I know that you can cure these things, and I know that you can fix them. So genetics and things is, I think that this value really that we've all forgotten. The point to all this is like when you smoke these strains and like people are like, I need the Z, right? Like I need this flavor. I need this palate. Is you could be smoking Skittles all over the country, right? And in every place, shape, and form. And I promise you that Skittles will taste different from every single grower and cultivar that you smoke that from. And this is the part that I'm getting frustrated that we're getting, not maybe you guys, and I'm sorry that I'm so generalized when I speak about this, but I think that sometimes people get so accustomed to what a strain is being sold like on a shelf. And it really frustrates me. It frustrates me because most of our gardens are infected with a lot of these diseases that none of us realize. And it's not because you're a bad grower. It's not because you did anything wrong. It's not because of any product that you use. It's not because it's really not like that. Honestly, we were just surprised with something that came up after it had been passed around for a long, long time, let's say. So I think instead of taking it like personally or like getting down on yourself or like, shit, does my shit have this? Or I don't know, whatever. Is the thing is like if we all have a really stringent protocol, right, as a whole, is it doesn't matter what pest you have, it doesn't matter what disease you have, it doesn't matter what virus you may have, is if you do this specific protocol, this will eliminate, and I'm not going to say 100%. You guys got to be plant people with me at the end of the day, is you know that you can get your pleasant surprise or unpleasant surprise every now and again, but I would say 96% you could really secure your genetics and really secure the fact that you feel good. You feel good in your garden. You feel good that if somebody brought you a really sick plant, that you would be like, I can take this really sick plant. So if you have something that you're thirsty for, let's just say SFV. SFV is a strain that I think is really prone to PM that people like is San Fernando Valley Kush. Sorry. But it's super finicky, and she really follows suit with a lot of those Kushes from back in the day that we all love to get ripped off of. Like it's not even the number. Let's just remove the number as far as potency, terpenes, anything. It will just get you ripped and you'll be like, I don't want to do anything. I think everybody's a cop behind me. I don't know. Like, it's just like one of those strains that you're like, where did this come from? I see it ran though where a lot of people wouldn't like it is like when you purchase it at a store, for instance, and I'm just saying generalized, or just a person or whatever you're up to, is like it's not that great of a smoke unless somebody, I don't even want to say this anymore, unless they had it dialed in, but really that's not the truth. Is like if this plant has HLVD or Fusarium or Botrytis or Pythium, then that plant is not gonna like bring its utmost like potential, right? And it's nothing against the grower. These are these hard things that I'm trying to dial in on, like how can I display this topic for all of us across the board. And it doesn't matter your knowledge level or experience level. Is like we all know good weed at the end of the day, right? We all know when we look at a plant we're like, this is fucking fire, or this is not. Is like I think there's a oh my goodness, consistency that we see across the board. If we really looked at it with Colorado's decline in quality over the last 5 years, is it's not this mass production. It's not moving the parts too fast. It's not the perpetual harvest. As much as I've talked about it even on my show, it's not that. Is if you have pest and disease issues, you are going to have issues from start to finish, and I promise you forever. And it's super discouraging and it's super frustrating. And honestly, it'll eat your soul alive. For a real plant lover, oh my God. When you walk into a room covered in aphids or spider mites or PM or whatever, it is the most horrific 5 minutes you will ever feel as a person. I really think that. I really think that. I think sometimes that like divorce or like a car crash is like easier to handle. I'm not even kidding. I think it's tough when you care about plants and you really care about your garden. But I think that what we need to hone in on is we have these products that we've all been scammed on, right? We've all been hustled and bustled. Every single one of us has hustled our asses off and then also been hustled. And it's hard, but when you go into the grocery store and you ask them like what is good for spider mites, and everybody's like, okay, I got these 3 products. Do you know if that grocery store is honestly incentivized by that production company? Like, are they getting paid more? Is this a fresh release? Is this like actually approved on our list of products that you can use or not? Is this something that's been tested for an extended amount of time on disease plants, on different types of insects, like all these things that they claim, right? The answer is no. And so if you guys find other information, please post it because I would love it. I am an advocate for it. It's not that I'm against it. I get frustrated that if you really get into this, right, is you're spending a lot of money. I would say the average grower at your house is spending probably a third of your income on weed. Whether that's producing it, whether it's smoking it, whether it's however you want to slice and dice this. Like, I bet we're spending a good percentage. So when you look at that though, is like you're down with spending money. This is the part that we all get discredited by, right? We're down to spend money. Those pot smokers are bougier than people think. You will drop some money on weed, and you will drop some money on good weed, and you will drop some money on good products that produce good weed. But you know what we all get tired of? Getting fucking hustled. And I feel like the word hustle, right, is like lately I've been so frustrated with it. And that's why I had to vent tonight. Is just the word. I use it to like wake up in the day and I'm like, dude, you got to get shit done. Like, we got shit to take care of. Hustle, baby, hustle. And I tell myself that and I'm like, take care of it. And for some reason it makes me feel better. But when I really start looking at the word hustle, it doesn't give me good context, right? Like, I look at people, friendships, relationships, business relationships, all kinds of shit get fucked up because people hustle too hard. They hustle in the wrong areas because they've been shorted in all the valuable areas. This is a fucked up part of our culture in the weed industry. And it's not the weed industry, it's just when I say that, I really mean you home growers as well. Whenever I'm saying the weed industry, is I see us as a unit, right? We complement each other and hurt each other in all the same ways. But it's like, I think the reality at the end of the day is like, you want to be able to trust fucking somebody. It's like, you can't be trusting these lighting companies. I was thinking about it. Everybody keeps asking me, like, what lighting company do you use? So this is funny. Lux, right? Let's go to Lux. Lux, I was sponsored by a couple years ago while they were in business. And that's why I can talk about this. Is Lux was a company that was phenomenal, right? They were competing with Gavita. Gavita was one of my favorite companies. I've seen them double people's yields and outperform many lighting companies as far as production with their old school at this point, non-LED settings. So I was really partial to them, and Lux was giving them a run for their money. So the reason I chose to work with Lux is because it was everything I was against. And not when I say that is Gavita and Lux had a very similar product to one another. And I was like, okay, I'm already sold on Gavita. Like, I worked at Rare Dagnus. We were the first commercial grow that they ever put their lights up in. Like, you get treated a certain way. The lights, you get kind of like expertise, knowledge, and like recommendations with even like the height and all these things. Did not follow the manual, right? Like, all of like the height specifications and like height off the canopy, and I would say that was the predominant one, but like there were so many things that were different than when you worked with them in person, and you got different results from the plants like themselves by having the, like, I guess, back of the house info versus what the pamphlet said. So when I saw that and I like proved it at these cultivation facilities, I am so sorry I can't talk tonight. It's because I'm on fire with this subject. I'm so sorry. Is this facility I worked at, is I asked them to hang their lights higher. So I was like, take your Gavitas, they're burning your plants, and put them 4 feet higher than what they recommend. Everybody's looking at me like I'm an idiot. And we just did it, right? We just did it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. This grow had 200 lights per flower room. There's 4 flower rooms. So that's 800 lights that you have to pay for a contractor to come move a couple of feet, right? People are like, damn. But the thing is it made a significantly huge difference. So our weight doubled. Let me start there. So we went from 57 pounds of finished weed per 200 lights, right, of 1,000 watts at the time. That's pretty ridiculous at the end of the day for a commercial facility. To my first round treating sick plants and us moving the lights, we pulled 156 pounds finished just by raising the lights, right? And when I say just by that, no. There's probably a lot of other layers and a lot of other factors that go into that, for sure. We all know. But a significant difference, right? So I think that sometimes, anyways, Lux went out of business. I was so dedicated to them. I redid a Addict and put in veg lights with their clone lights, proved that you could like pull the same. Doesn't matter. Is I feel like I was very into Lux. And then what happened after Lux and Gavita and then all of these other companies is like one after another started dumping, right? And just being like, buy my $1,500 fixture. I'm LED and I work so good. And it's like, it gets annoying. Like, honestly, it really does. It's like we go from triple X's to 315s, then you go from 315s to Gavitas, and then all these times, right, you have an Excel bill and you have all these fluctuations. You have the same yields within like minor differences most times, not always. Anyways, I just think it gets old feeling like, who can you trust? Who can I trust that when I want to just put a room together for a very small and tight budget, whether it's large or small, it's like we all just want to use what's best, you know? And I feel that way. It's like the sponsors that this is all going to go into sponsors that are going to be coming on in the next 4 weeks. But I just want you guys to genuinely know that the sponsors that I'm choosing to work with and the sponsors that I'm bringing on, they have had to work with me, which we know my personality's got to be tough to work with. And they've been able to get through that. And we've been able to compare actual numbers on large scales versus small scales and all the ways different around. And if you guys have a specific lighting company that you are into, please let me know and let me know the problems that you guys are having out there, whether that's with outlets, whether that's with understanding certain parts of PAR, or just even like how you can plug in things. Like, I've seen all of us fry shit like through the years of just like plugging in something that is way too much for an extension cord or whatever it is. And you guys just, if you could, slide into my DMs, slide into my chat on lighting, because I think that's one that we're all exhausted of getting like hustled on and scammed on. And same with like everything else. I think nutrients, mediums, like nobody wants to be sold anymore. There's a person in the industry that I really appreciate. I really genuinely appreciate for not being a dirty hustler. And it's Jeremy from Build a Soil. I know that those out there is we grow completely different from each other for the most part. Is Jeremy, he's done an exceptional job on creating these products that are really clean, they're safe to use, and they are all organic. And he goes on and he can actually like educate, speak about these products. And I think it's just so important. I think that's a person that's passionate and that's a person that's selling you something. Yes. It's because he believes in it and he like is working with it and it works for him. I've just been like realizing that people ask me for products and they ask me for what what I would use in a facility or a home grow, and it's weird but it all comes down to budget. Is I think budget is such an important part of of how we're growing. And when I say budget, everybody cringes and is like, "Oh my gosh, this is not good if we're just cutting costs." But it's like that's not what it is. Is I think we've been mistaught by that. Is no, less is more. Is if we can find the solid truths in all the things that we need to cultivate something beautifully and safely, and just directly, then let's help each other with that. So I think if there's a way, there's been a couple guys in the chat lately that have been responding to the shows. They've been so nice. Is they've been writing in the comments like recommendations that people have and like products that they're using, and I just want that people to know that that's like it's so important and it's so cool, and I'm so grateful that you guys are doing it in the chat. Thank you. Um, let's see. I'm going to read the chat now. At the shop. Okay. Let me see. I gotta go get the rebate to upgrade. You're absolutely right. The LED upgrades, actually, the programs for everybody that I've seen, they've gotten reimbursed huge. And I am trying to get somebody to partner with us on the treat show to give you guys a discount to get it actually shipped to you. And we not have to cover shipping and we not have to mess with all this stuff to make it like legit. The only reason I'm on fire tonight is because I've been listening to people all week long talk about their struggles. That's the truth. If I'm being real with you guys, it's talking about their struggles of trying to navigate this industry, talking about their frustrations, talking about their triumphs, talking about bugs, talking about just everything you can imagine. And I'm sorry I'm a little pistol tonight, but I feel like the thing is you guys just gotta hang in there, man. Like, we just gotta hang in there. You guys, these, okay, I want to repeat the chat because it's absolutely phenomenal, but there is just so many awesome emojis, and I can't do it. I'm not deaf yet. I know I get a little intense on the mic. Rugburn is fireweed. So, okay, guys, I've been trying to get Rugburn on the show, and when I say I'm trying to get these people on the show, you guys don't understand. Is Rugburn is my homie, right? Like, Capulator, all these guys, super chill. We're tight. Like, we are tight. And, like, I can't get them on the show. Scott Reach, I can't get them on the show because they're just chill ass people. I gotta be real with you guys. It's not because I'm a loser. Maybe it is. I just thought it was funny that somebody wrote that in the comments recently. But I had to let Scott know. But I think that I think it's the thing is everybody's so old now. Like everybody that was like they're just getting up there. We got our families, we got like all this shit going on, and it's just funny to me that I'm like, damn it, I can't even get the coolest guys that I think are just phenomenal that we talk on a regular basis because they're just like, I'm sorry, I'm doing life. Like, it's no disrespect, but I think everybody's gotta love that a real weed grower just is like such an isolated personality. I just it's the truth. We all kind of keep to ourselves. I love the comments. Respect to all, Mr. Todd. You are absolutely right. I sound like such an a-hole sometimes. I like plants more than people. That is definitely fact in science. I feel like sometimes I think about like Larry OG is what like really made me fall in love with weed. And it's funny because I can't even get my hands on the cut anymore. And I used to have it. I used to love her so much, but I still do. But Larry was one of the sickest plants that I ever met in the beginning. And we were made for each other. Let's see. I'm going to read So Uncut Bush. So nice. He probably doesn't like what I'm talking about. Let's go down here. Taxman likes money. I prefer full jars. Oh my gosh, shooters, you 10 pointer. Tark, 20 points to you too. Gerhardt, is it too early to tell in most of the states that are going rec now? Gosh, I wish I could remember what I was going on about. Sometimes I have to do shows by myself now because I'm just like, I gotta talk to my gromies and see how they feel with me. Love where you were going with all the brainstorming. It's stuff I think about all the time. Thank you, Love, for the plant, because I know that this is supposed to be structured and you're supposed to get the news of the week and the strain of the week and the competitor of the month and all of the things, guys. I totally see what you want. I do. And I see even the potential in myself. I gotta be real with you. Is I am growing. You know, like I am working just like you guys. And like I want to do this podcast so much. And I want to do it balls to the wall. And I want to go all the way. But the thing is like, you know, I gotta be real with you guys. Like tomorrow, I have to clone 450 clones, and then I'm supposed to harvest a room by myself, and I'm supposed to transplant half of a room with 2 people, which is awesome. But I gotta water the facility. I gotta water the other separate grows that have nothing to do with these grows, and then I'm supposed to treat 3 rooms at the end of the day. And I have to shower between these places. And I know this sounds so easy. Like, I want to be so on it. But lately, I'm just like, damn, guys, like, I wish I had a backup sometimes. Like, I wish I had a little not a little, sorry. I love the word little. And it's not because of little. It's just little is so big to me. It's like, I wish I had a person to sometimes help me with the podcast. So sometimes if I'm slacking, I promise you, throughout the whole entire week, I am working and thinking about you guys. And I'm like, damn it, I wish we could put this in the show. And I wish I could do this. Sorry. You guys just let me know. I bought other clones from them that were on point, so not trying to throw shade. Oh, I bought a Skittles clone from Legal, and it was not Skittles. Yeah, so Skittles, that's a weird part about Skittles. I was starting that rant about the Z, but okay, so the Z is very sensitive, like a very sensitive strain. It's like funny to me, the way it grows and the way it's passed or handled is like nobody really has the real Z cut. And the people that actually went out and did it, I think did a lot to get the real Z cut. It wasn't like normal. It wasn't a normal amount of effort. And even like breeders that would never pay for cuts were paying for cuts. And Z is special. And the flavor. So I had a person ask about the flavor that they didn't get to smoke it yet. And I couldn't even respond properly. And then I was thinking about it real hard, like for the last couple days. And I was like, the Z tastes like, you guys know that gum that when you were a kid had the tattoo on the other side of like the zebra and like all that stuff. And it was like the rainbow pack of gum. I understand the whole Skittles thing or whatever. And I do taste that. But I'm saying like the smell that you smell in that rainbow gum that you tattoo yourself that is what Skittles tastes like. That is what the flavor is. And it is magical. It is. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it's so bold if somebody cures it right. But I'll tell you, that strain has been sick for years. And I have seen it test hot for HLVD and all of the different things. But the thing is about HLVD that we're all being mistaught on is that we've all flowered with a lot of these diseases for a long time, like Fusarium or Botrytis or whatever. And the thing is it won't completely, if you're combating its fit, is your strain will run well. It'll run really well, even if you baby it, if you do all the things, yes. But when you see a plant that actually you take out the HLVD and you take out the Fusarium and you actually see it finished, though, in comparison to itself from the same mom but just treated, let's say. In theory, every scientist is going to disagree with everything I'm saying right now, but if you really do that, is they run so magnificent, and the flower is so much more bolder in flavor, and it usually tests a little bit higher. It usually does all these things differently. And I'm not even trying to say like potency overall, everything included matters. I'm just, it just really has this flavor that you can never compare to something else. I really don't think. But let's go through it. The Z, I've been asked, I have the Z, and I'll be honest, the person that gave it to me said, don't ever, ever trade or share this. Don't ever sell it. Don't ever trade it. Please. It means the most to me. And I'll be honest that I haven't done it ever. And it's hard. I have a strain like that, Mars OG and Phantom OG. And the strain I breed with, actually, I won't share. I shared it one time. I shared Boo Kush with 14ers Boulder. And I feel like it's hard. When I see Boo drop on the shelf, I'm still stoked. I still go there and buy it. But it's the only person. Otherwise, she's my bae. Okay, I gotta read. I'm so sorry. The computer's to my side, guys. So bear with me for a second. Yeah, already have an offer to grow, not really trying to open something. Yeah, that's really the way to do it, though, is I wish that we could almost go backwards. I know this is going to probably come out wrong, but I wish we could go back to medical, not even recreational. Is I just wish that we could just vote against it, honestly, and go back to those days. And I think it's just a better system. Like, when I actually grew, so it's funny, when I started in Colorado, it was the MMED. So I have a lanyard. We all have to have badges, but I have the first lanyards that were given out when the MMED began, and that was the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division. And so it's a funny thing to think about, because now it's the MED, right? So it's marijuana enforcement division, no medical. And so they skipped all that. And it's kind of weird, though, because I remember the first time, like, wearing that lanyard, and I remember going to get my driver's license picture and, like, having the lanyard on and then being like, absolutely not, take that off. And, like, everything was just like, everybody would wear their badges around, like, trying to feel all cool, like, and badge numbers. So this is a thing that I don't know if the other states have, this is really funny, is I can't tell you guys my exact badge number, but I'll dabble with it pretty close. So badge numbers are the number of people in the industry applying for the badge, right? So it doesn't matter if they get accepted necessarily, but we'll assume that these were all accepted. So my badge number is M0, okay? And then it starts with an 8. And it's funny because I was on a waiting list for a year and a half and had worked in the weed industry for 2 years before the MED, the MMED, before they even existed. And what you had to do is you had to print this application and you had to hang it on the wall. And you had to pray that nobody would ever come to that building ever. But you had it on the wall and you sat in this line. So I found out that people were like cheating. They weren't cheating, but they would go there and wait. And they got younger badge numbers, right? Because they would go there and wait for a cancellation or something, and they would squeeze them in. And I was like, damn it, I could have had like M0, like 100. But instead, I waited on a waiting list for a year and a half to get a badge number. And they used to have these key badges. This is funny, but you used to have a key badge, which was a management badge. And then you used to have an operator's badge, which was an employee badge, which you just have to work in any confined area of cannabis, a restricted access area to be specific. So that was a minimal that you had to have. And there was a cost difference, right? One was like $100, one was like $300. And so I don't know. You had to be a manager to get the fancier badge, and I was a manager at the time, and you felt so cool then. You felt so limited, right? Like you were just so cool. So you would walk in, and people would be like, "Oh my gosh, she has a key badge," and you feel so awesome. But then if you really wanted to be the most incredible person in the room, you'd have a red badge. So the red badge is the owner's badge, and so let me tell you, the biggest difference is your taxes. Is you're paying a shit ton for this badge in Colorado. Colorado, in my opinion, is it's $1,500. And you have to be in a different tax bracket because you're paying 30% with no write offs and all this other shit if you're participating in this business here. So that's what the red badge gives you. But the key badge and then the support badge, that was like the tier system, right? Now we only have one badge. We only have one badge, just like Arizona did, just like all these other guys. And our badge is cheaper, granted, is I think for a renewal, it's down to only like $120 for 2 years. And but now you can't even be a manager versus like, and I hate to say it like that, but no, they took away everything. Unless you have an owner's badge, you are the same. And I was looking on Craigslist. I don't know if anybody has checked out Craigslist recently, but I had some flashbacks to my first dating apps, and I was like, oh my goodness, Craigslist is bumping with every other job but the weed industry. But when I first got my first weed job, it was trimming for $200 a pound on Craigslist. And I was like, oh my God, it changed my whole life. I don't know if it made it better or worse at this point, but I think that it's just wild. It is just wild. What do you guys think about the industry? Do you think it should stay this way? Do you think it should stay like evolving to legalization? Like everybody loves the packaging, everybody loves all this shit. I like it that anybody that's sick like can access weed instead of having to have your license or I think that's super valuable and important, but I don't know if I actually like this. If I'm being honest with my small group that I trust so much, I don't know if I really like this. I don't know that it's not that I don't want to see people not get arrested for weed. That decriminalization and all that stuff, totally different. Like, yes, this is a serious problem. You should not be in trouble for cannabis in any shape and form. But I see it where you're getting more in trouble for cannabis. It's not like your plants at your house. You're right. You're right. There's a value there. But every time you get in your vehicle, every time that you like are out in public now, like they've got too much like just like damn. How do we make it work? What do you guys think about the mushroom world? So I can cool off from my weed rant. I'm sorry you caught me on a hyphy Sunday. What do you guys think? It's like I was talking to somebody about mushrooms the other day, and I like mushrooms. There's a time and a place that I feel like why not? But I also feel like I don't know if they should be splashing around out there, but Colorado is just always like doing shit like this. I feel like it's a weird state. I don't know if your guys' states operate like this, but Colorado kind of used to be conservative. Nobody would believe it. But when I was a kid, everything was a little bit like different. This stuff was not so open and so cool. But now it's like you walk down the street and it's like freaking crazy. It's nice. It's not as shitty as we all make Denver sound. It's like Denver's bougie. They just have like half hood, half good. But it's just like anywhere. But I think that it's kind of weird that it's kind of weird the thought of like the homeless people I see walking on the street. And I'm not even saying I haven't had tough days, okay, and tough times. But the people I'm just like, man, if everybody just like had accessibility to mushrooms though, I don't know if this would be good. Or maybe it'd be better. Like shit. Maybe everything would work out. But it just seems like a crazy concept to me. I'm like, it seems like a pretty chaotic place. I don't know if other states and places are like this, but I'm just like, man, I don't know if we should be like tripping balls on top of it all as a community. or be able to go pick up some gummies real quick with mushrooms in it. But I also think weed's getting devalued to the point that it's almost like a cigarette. I think cigarettes are more expensive as consistency goes and as a business. But I see all these guys thinking they won't face it. That's the mistake I all see. Is I remember Colorado used to be different, right? Like we came out with packaging and we came out with fancy brands and fancy strains and all these things and trained everybody and did all these like fuck ups to like make it work. And I don't know, it's like it's weird, but everybody abandoned ship and is like telling us in a weird perspective, they're being like, oh, you guys don't understand. Like, we care about branding. We care about genetics. I'm like, what part of us doesn't care? Like, we care. I've never seen so many sad growers in my entire life. That's why you guys see my negative attitude. Is sometimes for you unicorns out there, is like, I'm a pretty sparkle as well. But I will say that it gets tough in a market, like when we're talking 15, 20 years, 14 years like into something that has had to start from infancy and like really like work out its kinks like along the way. Like there has been such good times. There has been such good times money financially. I remember most of my career like charging $6,000 a pound or more, and that's awesome, you know. And I'm just saying is like as far as like production goes, like you don't have to produce that much weed if you're getting that much a pound, and you can put time, all of these things get distributed appropriately. But I think that the sad part now is the cheaper that we pay, it feels better, it feels good. We're like, shit, yes, like I can't afford to be smoking whatever. But the truth is like for your growers and cultivators out there and breeders though, is it makes it where they can't afford to like pay these high bills to the Excel or the nutrients or the I just see where I feel really blessed to be able to see people feel completely at a loss when they walk into their passion kind of defeating them. Like, not defeating them, but like your passion being something that doesn't bring you enjoyment, right? Like, that feeling is sad. And I think that if we can sustain though the things that create a valuable atmosphere when we're doing good, is like how do we complement each other as home growers and commercial cultivators where we can really sustain each other. Like I was really thinking about this, like with legalization and voting in other states, is like, could you vote for a stronger library, like a high plant count, just to have moms and just to have these specific genetics that you store and you sell to the dispensary retail micro license, and that you like, it's weird, but for the home growers out there, I was like, you have an advantage point to make money off of these guys beginning. And I was like, there's so many ways to make money off of that, but what creates like a sustainable market for smokers and growers is like apples and oranges. I just got that strain. Is but apples and oranges, I feel like if we were to compare, like they have a consistent demand, and you never you know that like this part of the market is consuming this much of these apples or bananas. And I just think it's unfortunate because with cannabis, we really don't know. It's like if you smoke shitty weed one time or two times or three times, you're like, I'm not going to smoke weed, or I'm not going to keep. It's just been really interesting to me. I'm sorry I'm going on this rant with you guys. So we'll switch it up. Is so H2O2. I was contemplating on doing a show next week on H2O2 or aphids, russet mites, spider mites, and thrips. Is I guess we could throw in fungus gnats for just giggles at that point. But I think that those are most of the things that I'm seeing people face right now that I was like, what would be valuable for us to talk about? Is H2O2 seems like something that people are scared of, that I want them to get really comfortable with using. Is I would absolutely love to teach everybody and show everybody, and even if we did it ourselves on the show, to like how much you can pour and control hydrogen peroxide in your water and how much it's combating these really important necessities that will just give you tools. You know, we always want the tools. So H2O2 is a good tool. And I was thinking about doing a whole episode on it because I don't think that I will lose track if we had a whole episode about H2O2 and different parts of using H2O2 and at different phases and different strengths. But then I was thinking that everybody has these misconceptions on bugs, and I think that the bugs are kind of important to cover right now, even though we're getting into fall, which is super exciting. My favorite time of year to grow is, I think that like thrips, I've been seeing a lot this year. What is the other aphids? I've been seeing a lot of aphids. I don't know if you guys have had root aphids, but I wanted to cover. I always talk about aphids like they're two different things because that's been the only successful way I've been able to describe the differences that we see that we can relate to is like. But I really want to talk about aphids on how weird it is that you can see a root aphid, right? And then you see something that looks like a fungus gnat and it's really an aphid. And they just annihilate your garden, and it's something that you'll think is just a minor problem to like it'll actually be causing all this stunting and disease and blah blah blah. So I guess we can't leave out the fungus gnat, but do you guys have like something that you would like to talk about on the next show? I was thinking about doing an interview. We have lots of interviews lined up, so we don't need to worry about that, but you guys let me know in the chat is if you think it would be cool to bring on somebody. Andrew, I know, wants to join this show again. You guys let me know if you have any specific questions for Andrew. I think it would be awesome. Rory, thank you for being so nice. Thank you for being my little sparkle baby. You know what's funny is we only get one shot a day to do like whatever you want with your personality or whatever you want as far as your little 24 hours on influencing each other. And I will tell you, when I see certain comments from you guys, you changed my whole 24 hours. You changed my whole everything. I know that some people will put all these misconceptions in our minds of one another, but it's really nice to hear encouraging things and supportive things. It means more to me than you could ever know. You got the real. Oh, we only want the real. Sometimes I think that's what's shitty about my personality is I wish I could change it. SFV is damn epic. Absolutely. See, yes. Survey says these are so awesome. Yeah, see, I think that sorry, Big Farm, you get so used to smoking at home, you only feel high if you try to go out. That is hilarious, though. Have you guys ever gone and been like, oh shit, I should just restart? It's like, okay, sometimes I'll be like smoking the morning wood, right? And so smoking the morning backwood. And I'll be like smoking this blunt, and for some reason, like the first smoke of the day always gets you ripped. And like, my worst situation that happens to me in the mornings is like my car will need gas, and like it's not the snow, it's not the like rain and weather and shit. It's like I'm smoking a blunt, and I'm like, damn it, I have to stop, put this out. It doesn't always burn right. I have to, like it's a whole thing, so I have to like plan my trips on the size of my blunt. So I'm like, anyways, thinking about when I'm driving. Don't tell anybody this. Hypothetically, you start to think like headlights, and you start to like pay attention. So anyways, you start to gauge weed by like how paranoid you feel. You're like, oh my god, this is going down, this bad thing is happening. You'll come up with every scenario under the sun, and then you're like, no, this weed is just real good. And then you gotta check yourself and be like, is it just breakfast? Does that ever happen to you guys? Bruh, for real. Thank you. Oh, why? It's always so good to see you in the chat. Gerhardt, thank you so much to you as well. Jar 33. Sorry guys. I know I get like a little passionate. Grumpy, you're right. You're right. Sorry. Sometimes I'm not really grumpy though. I just like go on rants. My power bill was 2K for 6 lights that month too. Fuck is Country Edison, I'll tell you what. That is funny. Yeah, so that's like when I go on these rants, the thing is like it's not that I'm trying to be an asshole. It's that I've grown for like 15 years consistently. I'm saying this library alone. And like you pay all this money out, sometimes not flowering, right? Years at a time. Whenever I'm fixing plants from like HLVD or Fusarium or any of these like gnarly things, is like it'll take years to restore genetics without tissue culture. It really will. But you build them to be resilient to environments. You like build them to be like resilient as they are hardy. But it's not that I'm like resentful. I love this, right? Like I honestly do. That's why I talk like this. But it's hard when people will come up to me and be like, just sell your genetics for really cheap. They're like, nobody even cares. Like, just everybody has these, or how do they prove this, or where did this come from? And it pisses me off, right? Like, I'm like, dude, I didn't work at all these companies and like work this hard to establish myself to have you tell me that this shit is worth $10 a fucking cutting. Like, that is rude to the breeders, to the grower, to the cultivator, to the everybody. But I do understand mass scale. Once again, now we're switching. Is like you can't afford. Okay, $10 a cut, 450 plants. That's $4,500, right? Like that's fair. So it's kind of like a weird thing that we all have to balance out. It's like how do we keep morals, ethics, business, plans, passion, like all this shit. Like you guys tell me. You guys I know I got some haters out there and I know I got some critiquers, but if you can come back with a better solution, freaking give it to me. Sweat equity. That is where it's at. Play is hustle. Everyone wants to get over. See, Gerhardt, that's the problem. It's like I have good weeks and I have bad weeks. It's like dirty hustlers, man. Like people just like trying to get some. And it's like, stop. Like we can get some together. Do you guys ever feel like that? Sheesh. Yeah, you're telling me. Survey says fire. Okay. Oh, Tiki Man Light is awesome. So Tiki, so I really want to get him in the show. We've already talked about this. Tiki's already agreed to coming on the show a couple different times, but Tiki's like a family man, and it's so cool that he's like that. I respect it more, but seems like Grojan been stepping their game up lately. That's what I like to see. You're absolutely right. So I was thinking about, can I tell you guys a lighthearted, funny story? So I was thinking about how I got hired at Way to Grow. So a lot of people have worked for Way to Grow. A lot of people. And if you go around Colorado, like, it's not that rare. Like, I just want you guys to know. But I want you to know how I got hired there because now I can finally talk about it and it's funny to me. So I'm sitting in a bar one day and I'm in really rough sorts, real rough sorts. Like I remember it was probably like, it's not what you guys think. It's not party mode. It's like where you go so hard on these jobs where you'll stack. You'll be working too many, so you'll be like falling asleep, hanging out with people. You'll be going too hard and trying to drink to get a pick me up. So, anyways, we're doing all these projects, and I'm at the bar, and it's super early though, and it's like St. Patrick's Day after, and this is before COVID. So I only say this because it was like weird timing, and we're like, it's me and one other person, right? And it's like, I look awful. I'm not wearing makeup. I'm like falling apart. Imagine this. And I'm just like in my zone. So what I used to do is I used to take all my business plans in my computer and my books and all the things. I used to take them to the bar and I used to spread them across the bar. And I'd put on my glasses and I like wear my hat and I wear my hoodie. And I'd just be like studying my shit while having a lemon drop martini. You know, like that was my jam. And that was my favorite thing to do. So I like have all my stuff. And you guys would be surprised. People don't talk to you if you carry shit into a bar. Like they're just like, oh, she's doing something. So, anyways, there's this other person. I have all these books out and I'm typing something and look like shit. And this person comes over and they're like, oh, the bartender comes over and she's like, I think you should meet this person next to you. And I'm like, oh, no, today's not the day. And I'll like say that, right? Like, you're like, sometimes it is not the time. And I was like, today is not the day. So she's like, no. So, anyway, she introduces me to this person and, just his first name. And we're just like vaguely talking. And so he asked me, like, we find out we both work in the weed industry, and I see that's why she wanted us to meet. And he doesn't tell me what does or what he like does in the industry or anything like that. But we're like casually talking. He's like, "Where do you shop?" And I'm going through the list, and I'm like being pretty blunt, right? Like, and I'm just saying this like I feel like this is like the problem with my personality. Sometimes it just like falls out. So I'm like just telling him how I feel, and I'm like, "This is where I shop. This is a Gucci grocery store. This is a shitty grocery store. This is the one that always has it. This is one." So we're going through the things. And it's like, oh, you really know your stuff. And so he like starts asking me these further questions, right? And I'm like laughing. Like I'm just like blowing this person off. Like kind of like I just, you know, we all have those days. And so anyways, at the end of the conversation, he's like, email me. He's like, email me your resume. Like, email me your stuff. Like, maybe we could work together. Like, you own your consulting thing. Like, maybe we could work together. So I'm like, oh, sweet. So I never email this person. I never get back to them. I give them my business card. They take, like, we trade, you know. So I never email them. We never talk. And so, like, a couple weeks later, and this is before the big shutdown, the huge shutdown. Like, I'm saying the real shutdown. So a couple weeks go by, and this person emails me one day, and they're like, hey, do you like still want to do this? Like, are you interested in working together? And I'm like, what? Who is this? So I see it's the owner of Way to Grow, and I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I cannot believe I just like told this person all these terrible things, like not not terrible things about, but I was just really honest about a lot of things, and didn't know that this was the owner I was talking to. And so he writes me, and he's like, I'd like to hire you because you're super honest. And he was just like, I want a transparent thing on this, and I want it. So it was like crazy. But I got hired during the time that we couldn't work anywhere. And I didn't work at the stores. I worked for their manufacturing and their like completely different departments. But it was so funny how that job came to life, though. And I was just thinking about that the other day. And I was like, people think that you need this like perfect outline for life to like work out, and we think that everything just like went so easily and came together so nicely, and it's like that's not at all how it is. It's like I just like thought back at that time, and I was like, oh my gosh. And we found out we lived like a couple blocks away from each other, and the dogs and the friends and the girlfriends and the people, like it's like funny, but like you realize how close you all could be to exactly what you want. I think this was cool about weed is I just think that I wouldn't probably have as many connections in life if it wasn't for weed. It's a weird thing to think about, you know? I miss the Larry. Ugh, I would do anything. I used to have Larry Tree and Larry OG. Larry OG, like I said, is what made me fall in love with sick plants. And I love the weed, though. Love it. And even the Larry Tree was the lemon tree, obviously, but I lost them both. My grow got broken into one time. And I had been restoring these genetics for a long time. And they had took everything that was was valuable or took a long time. But you know, there's like weird lessons in that shit too, though. Is you're like, if you get so vested into strains, I remember I had a strain in my garden when that got broken into that was worth $1 million, right? I guarantee that's why they did that. Is it was listed on a clone list for $1 million, and at the end of the day, I probably wasn't the person that that company even wanted that to have, and so I feel like you gotta be real with things where you're like, that's why I love weed. It just keeps you humble if you're like down. But they can also make you a really shitty person too. Plant sitters, yes. Jar, you're so nice. I love Mr. Toad. Tyler. Tyler was one of the best experiences I ever had. Tyler Van Horn. Purchasing cannabis is I went in to pick up the Skittles from 710. And it's the only time I really like splurge on 710 is when they have the Z. And it is because it's so like hard to grow. She like veges for way too long, and she's just like finicky. She's mostly sick, honestly, but you can get it to finish nice. And even sick, I hate to say that, but most people that have it, it's sad, but she'll do it. And it's just got this so incredible flavor. It really does, but it just looks not the prettiest. And Tyler just blew my mind. First time I ever met him, just changed my entire experience. Let's see. I still got the Boo Cross, lol. Did grow them out. Really, KL? Ooh. If you slide into my DMs, I will give you some more Boo Cross seeds. It's really tight. So the Boo Kush is, it's my most, I'm just so greedy with her. I don't share her. I charge a lot for the seeds. I did an F1 project that people are like, oh, F1s. It's like, no, she came out really fire. Is I had 3 people run it commercially in the state, and got really solid reviews back and was told to do all these things with it moving forward. But I really want only like a tight group to see her first, because I want the proper people to share her. And that's what it is it took me 10 years to do this project, and I'm really, it's not like 10 years of struggling or something. 10 years to like get the strains, do it properly, ask permission, do like kosher, do all these different crosses with the Boo, and it's a whole ordeal, and something I really put a lot of love into. So when I say $350 a pack or $450 a pack, it's because I've only sold them for more expensive than that, and they have worked out. Like for everybody that's ran them, it's been really select and really small runs. But what I like to do is I like to match people, so I don't sell that many a packs like that, right? Like not everybody's like, oh yeah, racing on that, but the people that do, is I like to match them, right? So if you, whatever amount of seeds that you're popping with a strain I sell you, all pop the same at the same time, and we can see what our pick is together from that group. And usually it's awesome for both me and the grower. Is it's always a privilege for me too to have a grower running my shit, and I do put a lot of love into it. And I think like all these things are really limited now. It's like I'm at the end of my orders on everything. And I only do a drop every 5 years, and it's not because I can't do more. It's once every 5 years, just because I want them to be perfect. Usually the time in between is just honing in on whatever I was working with prior. But the 5 years is, that gives you a long enough time to see what's on the market, what's really popping, what's really complimentary. When you're doing it right, it takes a while, you know? Oh, let's see. I still have my 215. That's what's up. Sorry to hear that, Toad. Guys, I want to do something on the show where you guys can win the lights, though. It's like, that's the whole thing with the sponsorships. It's like, I do really like Lugs, but because they went, like, it's not even that they went out of business. It's just transitioning or whatever. I think that we need a different company or two to give you guys a try. Like, I want to try them with you. I want us to compare different things. Hash, flour, damn badge numbers reset if you let it expire even for a day. You're right. That is the bullshit. Love for the plant is like, that's also a lie. It's like even owners have to get a new badge number. So it kind of is like ridiculous, because if you do lapse, which is easy to do, you guys would be surprised, is then they do make you restart. And then if you get an owner's badge, they make you restart, which I don't know. At the end of the day, you really can't look at the badge numbers. I know a lot of people that deserve a lower badge number than what is represented. And I feel You're right. Um, got my first cannabis job through Craigslist. That's what's awesome. No, everyone uses Indeed. You're right. Have good, have food. Thank you, love, for the plant. So I'm starting a clothing line. You guys will see this winter is there's gonna be have food and have good. You guys are at least gonna get hoodies, and it's gonna be awesome. But it's taking me a while, but I think it's gonna be fantastic because have food and have good is the beauty in life. I feel like I think that mushrooms should definitely be regulated. Personally, I just believe if somebody finds a good in something, people tend to take it overboard. That's the weird part about mushrooms. I think it can get like a little too different. Thanks, Kim Painter. Most industries are cutthroat. So sad. Yeah, that's the truth though. Is I always think like I always bitch about cannabis, but the thing is it's really not like that. It's like the more people I see out there, just like we're all trying to achieve the same goal, is to like sustain ourselves, sustain our families, sustain the environment. Like I think all those things are so important, and it's like so hard that we're all just grinding. We're all just trying to achieve it. We're all trying to do what's best. Is Tiki coming? Tell Tiki is, yeah, so it's been hard because I know he got slammed with the recent drop, and I know that his family days are Saturday and Sunday. So we've been trying to catch each other during the week, but I've been pulling those doubles, and he's been probably pulling those triples. I don't know. Let's see. Wow, only changed 24 hours. Haha. Retro horror stories. I got tons. Oh my gosh, shooters. Let's talk about it sometime. I was thinking about a show. I know everybody sees me as negative. I don't want you guys to see me as negative. I do love weed, and growing it. But I think that it would be so awesome to talk about reservoir tragedies and grow stories, because I think we could come up with like a pretty good amount of them. Like, what if we had, instead of strain of the week, like we could still do strain of the week, but what if we had just people like submitting like their reservoirs like overflowing, or their whole grow rooms, or just like walking into like the bug like infestation of a lifetime? Like, I think it'd be hilarious to do the opposite. Like, I won't put anybody on blast on the flip of like whatever. But I think it would honestly be funny because we can all relate to it. Or if you can't, you haven't been growing weed long enough. Stuff oil X besides out on the ground. Oh, where do you dump the leftover stuff oil X except besides out on the ground? Okay, so good question. So the reason I was designing this measurement bucket is because pesticide measuring is so important, and measuring the exact amount for the space is so important. Obviously, you know that, but the thing is it's really difficult sometimes to nail it, especially if you're like changing things up, or you have more plants than you've ever had, or you're doing a drench plus a spray or whatever. But I think the truth is like if you have stuff oil is still like mild, but like with anything, it's like you're not supposed to pour it down the drain, right? So you're supposed to triple rinse it. Is what I like to actually do though is most pesticides or treatments or surfactants will last for 48 hours. So what I like to do is I'll take my leftover of something and I'll top it up with water and dilute it, and I'll cut clones. I know this sounds ridiculous, but for reals, if I'm actually left with something that I'm like, what do? I can't dump this in there for whatever reason, or spray it or whatever. Is I'll actually try to use my clones and treat my clones with it, and then by the time I'm done with my clones, is whatever the leftover is usually such a small amount that I can use it that way. Or if you dilute it, right, and you do just add it to a plant, such an easy solution. I don't know. I think that the more precise that you get with a room, this is weird. It's like I like the measurement buckets because You can measure at 5 gallons. Like, I don't like to do 5 gallons because I use a paint sprayer. So I do 4 gallons because, like, it'll splash and, like, be a pain in the ass to put, like, the neck of the paint sprayer in and all that stuff. So I do 4 gallons at a time max if I'm, like, spraying, like, thick, dense rooms, right? And I think that if you're doing that, then you should just use the rest of it. You really should, and then just dump the rest in the plant. I always dilute the rest with water. Is I always will fill it. Like, I'll fill the bucket. Like, say that you have like a tenth of the bucket. I don't know. It's like hard with this because it could range so much. But I would really dilute my concentrate and just dump it into the pot. Um, or tray your clones or spray the rest. And I feel like I'd rather have puddling and burning on my plants than dump it down the drain or something. Burning on my plants doesn't bother me the way that it bothers other people. It's like there's actually certain strengths that you can't use it less than to not get burning. I've actually tested this with labs, and you can't, like, for instance, Azamax is like, if I don't use it at exactly what they call for, an ounce to whatever, an ounce to 2 ounces, I think is what the bottle says. Follow the label. But I use it at an ounce, and if I use it at the ounce, that's their lowest side, right? Is like, it always burns my plants, always. And if you have any type of development of like pistils in your flower rooms, and I'm saying, like, you can spray this stuff up until harvest. It's considered natural. It's an azadactrin oil, but which is extracted from neem trees. But if you use this, like, I recommend only using it until like week 3, week 4 at the latest, and that's if you have like aphids or spider mites or something that's really causing detriment to the plants. It's really good for like russets, and it's really good all the way around. It targets everything, but I think it gets difficult because it will just burn. You'll see it. You'll see it. It burns. But I think that sometimes it's like better with like a lot of pests like russet mites or thrips. It's like you kind of want, it's not puddling, but you want like it to actually be evenly covering the surface of the plant and like the leaves and the stalks. And when you're targeting those pests, less is more, right? Like, it's weird, but if you spray them thoroughly and you actually cover them young into their phases of development, like, you can actually knock these things back and keep them under control. But it's really difficult when you start getting later, as you guys all know. Driving and just hope a landmark will make you remember. That's hilarious. Not that you are grumpy, J-Lo. Thank you, Ghetto Hippie. Grumpy in your chat chilling. I feel like, J-Lo, you guys are so nice. That's why I just feel you guys are my BFFs. It's like, I didn't mean to come in spicy today, but I feel like some days you just like are just like not angry, but you just like feel like you don't know if it's a sparkle or like a diffuse mint. It's like you're just like, I don't know if it's like it's been rainy. It's been like kind of just like and I do get like sassy and grumpy sometimes. I am like that person. I'll be honest with you guys. But I think that you guys are what I look forward to at the end of the week. And it's kind of weird because I know that we can't like smoke together, but it feels like we are, And I appreciate you guys actually listening to me. It's really, really nice. State of mind. Oh, sorry, I'm in the zone right now. Oh, I know, faded. It's a good thing. Oh shit, in the zone conversation didn't. My favorite mystery weeds. Sorry, these are all just amazing. You guys are so nice. I feel like we already have it says that we have 274 comments in the chat right now. So for as many views as we get per show, honestly, you guys crush it in the chat. And thank you so freaking much. I promise the next show is, I was thinking about it, is like tonight I just wanted to chill with you. I gotta be real. It's like, I just wanted it. I wanted nothing else but this. But I think the next show is that I want you guys to actually tell me what you want to hear about. And I will start getting better at staying on task and like having it all laid out. But I want you guys to let me know what's really important to you, because I want you to start using H2O2. And even if you use microbes in a beneficial system, it's like, let's find the complementary way to make sure that you're not going to combat any pest and disease issues later on. And we actually start using these products together, seeing the difference, seeing when you see Instagram roots. This is ridiculous, but this is the trick that they all do. Jungle Boys. The roots are so white because they use H2O2. And obviously, if you're using a whole bunch of beneficials, you can't be using H2O2 at the highest strength, but you can at the lowest. And that's what nobody talks about. Is like, and that's going to help you with your pest and disease issues. And you can still run your compost teas, and you can still do all these great. I just think it would be a good show if we touched on that. And I know the nutrient show was so long. So long. Thank you guys for trooping through it. But we don't have to go crazy on that again. But if you guys actually have questions on like calcium nitrate or monopotassium phosphate, I know that you can use monopotassium phosphate in higher levels versus silica. And the only reason you would do this, or not, like, it would come in your base, and you could like choose your base differently by the levels of monopotassium phosphate if you wanted to eliminate silica. So I think some of these things, though, maybe it would be interesting to talk about. Maybe it wouldn't, though. You guys gotta help me. Anyways, please do the H2O2. Thank you, Shooter. Thank you. Nobody else wants to hear about my H2O2. White roots spinning round and round the outside of the pot. That's exactly what happens. It gets crazy. And you actually, like, I hear a lot of people say, like, that plant's root bound and things like that. Is like, it's not that I'm trying to, like, disagree. But it takes a lot for a cannabis plant to be root bound. A lot more than most people realize. I'm not saying that, like, you can't have a plant that's root bound and that it can't be falling over and need a new pot. Yeah, you totally are right. But some of these big plants that people think are root bound, it would take so much longer than people realize. And like, cannabis thrives in environments like that and in pots like that. And I think getting away from plastic pots and felt pots and things like that, like, if you guys ever have even questions on those reasonings, is like, I think there's so much that goes into the details of like what our purpose is with this crop, and like the life of it, as far as like weeks, is like, that's the only reason that I don't do a lot of living soil now, is like, it's just not a long enough crop, like in a perpetual or commercial setting. But like in a house, it's like, that depends on it too, though. It's like, sometimes you're smoking more weed in your house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes that crop becomes even more valuable. You think it'd be the opposite, but no. It's like, I don't know. Or like, certain types of the year that you can actually flower, is there's a lot of limitations that go into it. So like, yes, in the ideal world, like, we all wish that we could just have endless amounts of weed. But I feel like in the realistic world that we all live in, is there's so many limitations to either side. Is like, you guys would be surprised. You're probably limited in all the same ways and don't even realize it. But I think if we could maximize the potential of like these small spaces, that's my favorite niche. Is like, how can we produce the most out of your small space? I do want to put on next week's show. I'm actually really excited about this, and you guys tell me if it's a bad idea. Is I did do a grow that was in an attic, and she had like 30 plants. It was a female grower. I thought it was really cool. She had like 30 plants in this attic that were really tight, and I wanted to make it where she could have like over 100 plants in this space, and like double her flower rooms. And I used LED Lux clone strips, and we like incorporated such a different thing. We made sure her par readings were proper, and I built like these custom beds. And it sounds
crazy, but I think that the small spaces I really want to work with you guys on, because I'm seeing that a lot of people are going into small spaces and like actually growing more at their houses than buying weed out in the market. And I think that, yeah, if we can hone in on that, I think that would be awesome. And if you guys have any like particular questions, let me know. We can work it out. I think that this is going to be awesome. But I want you guys to actually see pictures. So I was thinking next week of putting up a show that was like involving some of the last jobs that I talk about. So you guys could actually see. I'm probably not going to put the company's like friggin' thing on the thing, but I think that if you guys could actually see pictures of these different square footages and like the plant's transformations and like some of these diseases that I'm talking about that I just particularly see as being problematic or throughout everybody's systems. Yeah, you guys just let me know. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night, and thank you for chilling with me. I think you guys are such a beautiful crowd, and I look forward to next Sunday. You tell me what's most important to talk about. And peace and love.